30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and they've dissipated quite a bit now as industry has gotten so. Eastern States Farmers Exchange. It started here in 1957, 58. I have the plans of the building, which I was going to bring tonight, but they're so faded, they're hard to read. The building was actually built here in 1958. And of course, in a co-op, you purchased a membership. And if the business the co-op as a whole had a good year, then they paid a patronage refund. And that was more common back in the earlier days of co-ops. Farm Bureau Cooperative was also formed in that same area. The store in Slippery Rock that we had for 18 years was originally a Farm Bureau store. Mercer had, I think it was a Farm Bureau store. Yeah, it was a Farm Bureau store in Mercer. Newcastle had both. So a lot of the towns around had one or the other or both. In 1962, Eastern States Cooperative merged with Grange Lake Federation, which is a co-op mostly in New York and up the New England states. Those two merged in 62, and then in 1963, the Farm Bureau, Pennsylvania Farm Bureau Cooperative merged with Agway. So the three co-ops together formed what we know in our lifetime as Agway. Over the years, Agway had its ups and downs like so many of the co-ops that actually I don't remember the time exactly, the year, but in the 1990s, Agway itself actually went bankrupt. So Agway is actually a name only. Divisions of Agway were sold off to Agway Insurance was sold to Wells Fargo, I believe it was. No, the Telemark division was sold to Wells Fargo. The insurance was sold to Indiana Farm Bureau. The feed division was sold to Cargill. The retail division was sold to Southern States. And so the Agway was actually one of the Fortune 500 companies at one time. And my theory on that is they tried to be all things to all people and ended up being nothing to anybody. But that doesn't really affect the individual little store here. Back in 1985, Agway was starting to have some financial problems, and they decided to sell off stores as private enterprises instead of being run as a company-owned store. And that's when we purchased the store here in Grove City, February of '85, which was the same year that my daughter Elizabeth and my granddaughter, I forgot to announce who is here tonight. Elizabeth was born the same year that we purchased the store.
Now they all know how old I am.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to figure that out. Get the teacher to figure that out. So it's been 36 and a half years that we've had the store here in Grove City. 2 years after that, in 1987, we purchased the store in Slippery Rock and operated that for 18 years as a separate store. It became a point in, I guess, about 1980 or 2005. It just was not feasible anymore to operate two stores so similar, so close together, double the overhead, double the mortgage, double the electric, double the everything, when they were only 8 miles apart. So Grove City being the larger town and having more property to deal with here, we merged and brought the store to Grove City. In the store, just how it has progressed over the years. The first year that we were in business, I looked it up tonight, we did about $600,000 in sales. This last year we did about $3.5 million. Now that includes everything that we do, which the ones that you're most familiar with would be the lawn and garden and the farm and the pet area. Then we also have what we call Agway Water Treatment of Western PA, which we started in the 80s, I forget what year, and that's grown to, we have 5 people that work just in the water treatment division, installing and servicing softeners, filters, iron removal equipment, ultraviolet lights, things like that. So that's been a good addition to the business for us. The farm business in general has gotten fewer, bigger. Stores like us don't deal much with the full-time farmers anymore. There are fewer, bigger, full-time farmers out there. Not that we like that, but that's just the way it is. And they buy tractor trailer loads of product direct from the manufacturer. They don't need a distributor like me. But we still complement, a number of those farms. We deal with the ones locally that we've dealt with for a lot of years. The farm culture also has changed so that co-ops are not as, as prevalent as they were, but as important as they were, because the farms can go buy direct. They don't need a co-op to go bid for them or to deal with them. As I remember as a kid, I was telling my daughter tonight, a big event was to go to the annual meeting of the co-op, because they gave away, as a kid, they gave away lots of door prizes. They always had it at Wilmington Grange, and anybody that was a member could come, and they gave their reports and gave out door prizes. I don't remember what they talked about, but I just remember wanting door prizes. Currently, we have about 25 employees. 5 work in the water treatment, 20 plus or minus. It varies from season to season, and part-time, full-time, work in the store and the retail side as you know it. We've been extremely fortunate to have long-term employees, and that's one of our challenges right now. Bud, that worked for me for 30 plus years, retired completely this last year. Susie's been with me for 30 some years. Jeff has been with me for 30 some years. And it's hard to change those, or to fill those voids, but that's something we have to go through. And so actually officially this year, we started to turn business over to Elizabeth and her husband, so that hopefully it'll be a smooth transition over the next 5 to 10 years, and I can live to tell that. So, as far as my wife is running grandkids tonight, so she couldn't come, but we do have 11 grandkids. 7 of them live in the area here, and 4 of them live down in Georgia. And my other daughter and son-in-law have Whispering Pines Vet Clinic, but they purchased that originally in Greenville, and then they opened the store here in Grove City a couple years after that. So they're a busy family as well. So, any questions that I can answer at this point? That kind of gives you a thumbnail sketch of the store. Just as again, the progression of years, the feed bags that. It was when I was a kid more so in the burlap. Yeah. This is an old Eastern States bag that Eastern States was more prominent in the feed production. The Farm Bureau Co-op was more prominent in the oil and fertilizers. So we don't find many, if any, feed bags around at, say, the Farm Bureau. Then kind of the next progression was to the Agway bags as the co-op began to form after '63. Then, of course, it went on to plastics as time went on. And then, of course, as all of us love, they've gone to 50-pound bags. Some of the older guys will come in and say, "Yeah, I remember when it was a 150-pound bag." I was like, "More power to you, Bob." Not this boy. But now everything's in new, colorful, pretty bags. Even the basic farm minerals that we do handle quite a bit of are in a pretty bag now. Everybody wants a pretty bag, whether they can eat it or not. So,
George.
Yes.
In our kitchen, we have Grandma's apron that was a feed bag.
Right. Yeah. The cotton cloth bags were real common, especially for seed. They produced like Timothy seed and clover seed were oftentimes put in a bag like this because the weave is so much tighter.
I just thought of that.
Yeah, but that was actually a feed bag. Yeah, from. And I just customers bring these in, and hand them to me just as collection. This was Wayne Feed, another feed company that was around for quite a few years. And then Master Mix, which is a real common name over the years. And that Master Mix is owned by somebody else now, and they don't use the Master Mix name now. But Sankey's Feed Mill was always a Master Mix feed mill down there. And this is a Buckeye quality feeds. And I guess I didn't bring it. I did have a bag that had Pennsylvania Farm Bureau from Somerset, which, if you remember, for a number of years, the Farm Bureau store that was down here along the tracks was actually one segment of Pennsylvania Farm Bureau that did not merge with Agway in the 1960s. It was centered in Bedford, PA, and I think it still does exist as its own entity in Bedford, PA. It's the only Pennsylvania Farm Bureau store that still exists, and this up here was a branch of that for a while. It was part of Farm Bureau. It was a Beaver Co-op was what it was. I'm sorry. Beaver County had a co-op yet that was Farm Bureau Co-op, but they eventually dissolved as well. So any questions I can answer about our store or anything else? Yes?
Just a comment, the curtains up in the business room were made from Howe coffee sacks.
Right? Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure Hal got a lot of cloth material bags in over the years.
They gave us several.
Yeah, the only thing that I haven't seen it recently, I'm trying to think, a real coarse weave burlap bag comes in sometimes. Is it that, I think coffee beans maybe, and every once in a while somebody will turn up with some old bags, which we used to, there actually was a whole business where they would pick up these bags, recycle them, and then bring them back to the feed mills, such as ours here. Now, in '85, when we bought the store, we were still operating the feed mill. There was enough smaller farms around here yet that didn't grind at home or didn't mix their own feed at home, and so we were still grinding feed. And I can't say I shed a tear the day that broke down or we shut it down. It never got to be a wonderful job, no matter how old you were or how young you were. It was dusty, dirty, and hot in the summer, and dusty, dirty, cold in the winters. I could never understand how a feed mill could be the coldest place in the wintertime and the hottest place in the summertime. It was.
So the feed mill was out where the building is.
The feed mill entrance is what we call our plant building now. There were two overhead doors right behind that lattice work right there. One bay was for a sheller. If you brought ear corn in and you wanted to take it off of the ears to make pig feed or chicken feed because you didn't want the corn cob in the chicken feed or pig feed. And the other side was the grinder bay where you'd come in and grind feed.
Do you want to tell them how people would bring their own grain in?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have grain storage here like some mills do. Sankey's has some grain storage. The regional Agway mill up at Reynolds, which is no longer there anymore, had grain storage there. So they would buy local grain and then make feed from that. But normally the farmers would bring in their own grain. We would add soybean to it, minerals to it, molasses to it, and then bag it and put it back on their truck and take it home. Lingles were the last large farm that we did that for, and it was when Lingles brought and they were, at the time, they were very progressive. They were milking a couple hundred cows when most people were milking 50. And they had high production too. Albert Lingle, if anybody remembers him, was a massive man. His fingers were the size of 4 candles. And he was just as strong as an ox. But they would bring in a load of feed, and it took about 6-7 hours of working just to do their feed. And there was one customer that you never wanted to get behind Lingles to grind because you just needed to come back another day. So there was one customer she'd call and never tell us who she was, but she'd say, "Is anybody in there?" Well, what she meant was Lingles there grinding feed. She didn't have to tell us who she was. Very distinct voice. So anyway, that would take a number. But there was, especially when we had the Slippery Rock store, there were a lot of smaller farms that down in that area that we ground feed for and brought in the hogs, which Sally is a family of the hog farms.
I'm a hog.
I wanted to say it in a nice way. So it was just a change of times. Lots of little buildings around that used to be feed mills that are now whatever they are. just like old schoolhouses that are always repurposed for something else most times. So.
Well,
Yes.
you know, George, you are the carrying on the very first business in Grove City, like you said, was Cunningham's grist mill.
Mhm.
And that's what we include in our history tour, you know, whenever someone comes in here. In 1798, you know, Valentine Cunningham and his wife came here on a land grant in Mercer County. They were handing out free land grants.
Mhm.
And, you know, they set up down on Wolf Creek, down by the football field, at
Sure.
the first grist mill. And so you're just kind of carrying on the tradition of our roots.
Even if we don't grind feed, right?
Even if you don't grind feed, you
We
deal
sell
with
feed though, we
feed.
sell
Yeah,
feed.
sell feed.
In pretty bags.
But do you think of all your businesses, all the different aspects of it, I know that you said less farmers are buying, is that still the biggest, that's the most important part, I mean, as far as profiting in your business, or is the water part becoming more, or the pet part, or
The
as far as profits?
pets are no longer four-legged animals, they're a member of the
Oh,
family
you
now.
better get that.
And we bought, and I'm sure everybody remembers when Ellie Upton had the pet shop at the plaza. And she wanted to retire and get out of it. And I said, well, maybe we can just work out something. You can operate your business in our store. And I'll get back to your question.
No, that's
All
fine.
right. And she said, no, you just buy it. You just buy it. It's like, okay. Well, it took me 2 years before I finally conceded that it was a good move. The first couple of years were really rough, especially trying to keep fish alive. We didn't know a thing about, setting up a whole new system and everything. But pet has become unbelievable.
Pet foods.
Pet and pet-related pet foods. And beings that we have the live animals, pocket pets, we don't sell dogs or cats, but we sell virtually everything else. Rats, mice, hamsters, guinea pigs, gerbils, reptiles, chinchillas, ferrets. We don't all have them all the time. And chickens. I told him I wouldn't bring that up today. We're taking an unbiased stance on it. So I would have to say that pet and water are probably the most profitable. Now, the lawn and garden through the spring is extremely profitable. We try to have very good nursery stock, what we can get right now in the nursery business, and that's a very good business for us. But yeah, it's amazing. The farm now our farm that we sow is mostly backyard. The people that have a few of whatever animal they have. Now we still have, again, 2 or 3 larger farmers that buy a lot from us, and they're very committed to us, and we are to them as well. But it's just not in the cards, and it's not going to be. I can't change the way society is changing and the way industry is changing. And, it's sad. The 50 cow dairy farm is gone. The 100 cow is virtually gone, and the 200 or 300 cow is going to be gone here. I don't know how many of you know the Kinds, down in Plain Grove, and they milk 200 or 300, something like that. And Dean will call himself a dinosaur farm. I mean, he said, we're just a dinosaur. We'll go as long as we can. And they're excellent
We're
farmers.
very big, we have
For our
a
area.
whole binder of farms. It's something we did research on it,
Mhm.
we're dairy farms and it.
What about Cannon? The Cannon
Oh,
farm.
yeah, I have to say, Marie is from Plain Grove. So. Mrs. Cannon. They're very progressive, and that's the whole thing. You got to do something in a different way. I don't know if you saw the article just recently. Now they're into bottling milk. History repeats itself over and over and over again. Cheese is, of course, a spin-off from that, but Dean's farm down by Princeton, they produce cheese and also bottle milk as well. They've been doing cheese for 10 years probably. And,
They were selling in town.
yeah, they were selling some of their milk at the National Food Store downtown here. I don't know if they still are or not, but I forget their farm name, but it's Phil Dean and his son Adam. So the ones that are left have to do a different twist to it. just like I say, I don't have any new ideas. I just take what somebody else does and try to critique it to my business. You know, whether it's the way we sell pets or the lawn and garden business, I have no new ideas. I just have to take what somebody else does and try to improve on it. I'm not that creative. That's right, right. That's why I go shop at other stores and see what they do.
Do you deliver propane to people that?
No,
Just on site?
right, yeah. I wouldn't say that I won't go and drop a tank off for you, you know, that type of thing, but we do not have a delivery business, no. We fill a lot of tanks at the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
What do
we-
you think about the chicken problem in Grove City?
He wasn't going.
First, I don't see it as a problem, and I'm going to bow out of that question.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Oh, no. The mayor works for me, too. So. Part-time.
George?
Yes.
How'd you hold up through the pandemic? Your business was okay? I mean,
You know, ironically, again, I'm no brain trust. We just happened to have what people wanted to do while they were stuck at home.
Okay.
We had the best year we ever had.
Yeah, because a lot of people were canning.
We were,
Yeah.
fortunately, because we sold animal feeds, we were considered an essential business, so we never had to close down.
Oh, good.
Now, if a store was considered only lawn and garden, they had to close down, which didn't make sense as people wanted to garden, but
Yeah.
according to the regulations. But we were allowed to be open, and we just had a phenomenal year. And I feel bad for those that didn't. You know, we just, like I said, we had the right product at the right time for the right situation, and it was no creativity. It just we were there, so we were very fortunate. Yeah, we were busier than we ever have been.
Did
Yeah. And
you ever hear
this
about
spring is
the-
carried over. I'm sorry.
Ever hear about the feed mill in Clark's Mills? The name escapes me, but it was a big one.
Yeah, and you know, that's like a foreign land to me. My focus is Plain Grove and Lawrence County,
Oh,
Northern
okay.
Butler, Grove City area. You know, I mean, I know where Clark's Mill is, but I don't know anything about it.
okay.
Yeah. I could tell you about the Commons Mill that used to be in Harlemsburg, but I can say
Wasn't it Elders?
Elders.
Was it
No,
Elders?
it was a long name.
Yeah, oh, it was a long name?
Like German or something name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll have to ask my sister.
Okay, any other questions? Comments?
Very interesting.
Thank you. You know, I ran over pretty fast. All right, thank you.
We have some refreshments over there, some